any teenager, all they want to be is just an adult. That they just I'm an adult, treat me like an adult, and it's awesome to have that knowledge going into it and treating them like adults, giving them an opportunity to have a voice, and it's not just you speaking down to them. It's a conversation. It's a discussion. Like
it's
awesome.
A guided discussion because you want them to ask questions. And I've got like some amazing girls who are just so genuine and so sweet, and they'll stop and they'll ask questions without, like, it's the sweetest thing. They ask like simple questions and they never seem to worry about looking stupid or anything. And they'll go, wow, I didn't know that. And it's just really cool to watch them. Like, I have one girl who will bring a notebook, and it's so sweet to watch her like write things down because she's genuinely just so invested in this. One of the most humbling things is just listening to those girls like bring their own things to the table. There was one girl who was telling me the Sanctus in Mass. She said, when they're praying the Sanctus, my grandmother once told me that the angels, are essentially bringing up a chalice with your intention. So don't send your chalice up empty. And I was like, oh, dang, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I was like, that's...
Like, yeah, you just taught me
I was like, wow, that just made my day. The other day, I found out, you know the Divine Praises?
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to them the other day, and I was like, where did these come from? And I found out they were, like, written in the 18th century by a guy who was like, if you're struggling with blaspheming or swearing, you're supposed to say the Divine Praises as a way to, like, train your mind and train your lips.
You just taught all 10 of our viewers that. So you're welcome, guys.
You're welcome.
Matthew Eby.
Pray the Divine Praises.
They are beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, so just fun facts like that coming out all the time.
It's so important. I think one of the things that we've really lost, one, very obviously, is the society, but just two, general people inside of the church, is just teaching kids how to start, because looking for a vocation, right, is how I'm going to sum it up. But essentially, like, you know, kids nowadays aren't really taught how to, like, what does confirmation actually mean, right?
Yeah.
And you're told that there's an indelible mark that's placed on your soul, but you're not really given a full understanding of what your commitment to the church is actually supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? And I think when you're forming someone's soul towards a vocation, that has to be brought up in a very individual type of way, right? It needs to be separated between men and women, because men and women ultimately always have different vocations.
Absolutely,
no matter what.
yeah.
There's 7 sacraments, but men and women partake in almost all of them in different ways.
Right.
The only 4 that they really do the same way are, you know, communion, reconciliation, confirmation, and what was the other one I was going to say? Marriage.
Anointing of the sick.
Yeah,
Well, anointing of the sick, but like, you know, holy orders and matrimony are like the two really big ones of arguably adulthood to young adulthood or whatever.
Right.
Those are formed in extremely separate ways between men and women. And ultimately speaking, you know, 95% of Catholics are going to fall into one of those two different categories, right? Some people might be called to celibacy and just being single, but for the most part, everyone's either going to be a nun, a priest, or, you know, a spouse. And people don't give children that understanding after, like, around the age of, like, confirmation anymore. There's not, like, any sort of, like, push to get kids married or to get them into certain things.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah,
we're gonna jump in.
Well, I mean, like, there's
you open the door. Well, let's just walk in. So it comes down to something I said earlier. Men and women are different, and we've been treating them the same. But you mentioned how, like, the sacraments. We all go through the same sacraments, but we all deal with different things.
Right.
Different sins that men have, women, some of them have, but they also have different sins. Marriage, there's two, obviously the man and woman, but it's completely different.
Right.
And putting everyone together, trying to say everyone's the same, everyone needs to, we're going to all learn just the surface level stuff and never dive into it. Never dive into what it actually means to be a wife, what it actually means to be a husband.
Well, to touch on that a little bit, I tell my girls all the time that your ultimate vocation as men and women is motherhood or fatherhood, be it spiritually or physically. That is your ultimate end. That's what you were created for. And I tell it to women because I see a lot of girls who get I think there's just a lot of hurt around the motherhood thing because there are women who, people are getting married later, so there are women who are trying to cultivate these virtues who haven't found someone yet, or they're struggling with a vocation of any kind. And God made Mary both a virgin and a mother for a reason. Those are two, that is the peak of femininity right there, is Mary. And like it or not, motherhood is your ultimate goal. Fulton Sheen talks about in his book, 3 to Get Married, fantastic read. He talks about how in the final judgment, God will ask, where are your children? Because you're called to either raise children in the church or to bring people to the church. And so really, we're not teaching people how to cultivate the virtues, like the masculine virtues and the feminine virtues anymore. Like there was one day I had the girls, I was like, list out feminine virtues. And so they said things like, oh, gentleness, charity. I can't think of any more in this moment.
Shopping.
Shopping, yeah. But then
Cooking.
I was like, list out masculine virtues. And they listed out a couple, and I will say it was humorous. They found it very easy to list out masculine flaws.
Right.
I was like,
Well,
list
you
out
flaws?
masculine vices. And then I was like, all right, list out feminine vices. And I was like,
Ooh, self-confrontation.
hypocrisy, self-control, like all of these different things. And it was funny